All right, good day. I'm here with the Titan 1508 NH, and as you can see, I've cleared off the needle plate, feed dogs, slide plates, walking foot, etc., just to try to get a better idea of where the needle to hook relation should be. There's a few settings that we should be focusing in on when we deal with this type of top drop-in style large hook. Small hook is the same, but I'm just going to quickly show you some quick ideas of how we deal with this. So first off, this machine is in time. It does have a safety clutch. Safety clutch doesn't eliminate the chance of timing going out, but it helps to reduce and minimize any time that it does go out. So first and foremost, I'm just going to focus in here for you. All right, so we get a better shot. There we go. So needle to hook timing relation is quite simple. Typically on most machines of this style, we'll take the needle bar down to the lowest position. Sorry, let's get a better view of that. Down to the lowest position. There we go. Get a focus on that. Okay, great. And then we raise the needle bar approximately. In this case, it would be about 2.5 millimeters from bottom dead center to up. And then the hook tip, which is this little piece right here that I'm touching, should be right behind the needle. And so this one looks appropriate. I'll get a view of the other side in a little bit here for you. I can zoom, there we go, a little more focused. All right, as you can see, there's bottom dead center, and then that hook comes in to the needle, right about in the middle of the scarf. It really depends on what you're sewing, and timing is basically a zone. But we want to make sure that it's as close as possible to that zone, which is the scarf, and we'll talk about that in needles as well. All right, so now we're looking at the needle to hook distance, or basically it's the hook to needle distance, because the hook is the part that moves. And so when the machine is in time, the tip of the hook should be coming almost to a point where it caresses. We use the term caressing. The distance between the needle and the hook is somewhere in the range of 0.05 millimeters to anywhere, depending upon the needle size, material, etc., up to 0.1 millimeter away from that hook. And so we'll show you where that adjustment is on this particular model, and that should give you an idea if your machine is slightly different. All right, so the machine is now tilted in the up position. You can see the bottom of the machine. It's a little bit hard to see both adjustment screws, but bear with me, I'll do my best. Obviously you can see, let's see if we can get a better look here, a little closer. We're just gonna turn this on, there we go. We're just gonna get a little closer, there we go, view in, focus in, okay. So here is one of the screws that is holding, we call this the cradle. Some people call it a hook base. There's many names for it. Basically this miscolored, it's not the same color as the casting is of the machine, but it's a separate unit that's actually holding the shuttle hook assembly into the machine, and it actually engages the hook through the lower shaft. So here is one screw. If we follow down, all the way down, it's kind of hidden underneath, but there's another screw that actually clamps onto the bushing, and that allows this whole chassis, when this is loose, to move the hook, left or right according to how close we want to get that needle to the hook. We never want to get that needle touching the hook so that the needle is actually deflecting. We just want it so that when it goes by, it's as close as it can be without touching to pick up the thread off of it. So just staying underneath the machine here, I just want to point out this guard here that I'm touching has an important role. This guard here protects the hook from any needle deflection and smashing into that hook. It's fairly important. So typically in my role as a technician, I will typically tweak this out of the way. It just takes a reform, gentle of course. Don't force it as hard as you can, but I typically take a little bit larger screwdriver and I'll bend it in towards the hook so it's a little bit out of the way. Then I will set the hook to needle relationship, the distance and timing, and make sure it's in the place it should be. And then I will reform this back out into the correct position so that when the needle is pushed against the guard, the hook does not strike the needle. It can caress lightly, but it should not strike or break that needle. So it's a very fine adjustment, and we have to make sure that we're doing that correctly and taking our time doing that. So here we go. We have a pretty decent view of the hook to needle relationship. You can see that it's coming very close to the tip, but not actually touching. There's a little bit of movement, but very little. This is important so that it picks up that thread right off that needle. So make sure that when you're going through this inspection or adjustment, new needle, good adequate lighting, clear out as much as you can, needle plate, feed dogs, feet. You want to get a good view of what you're doing. And put this back together. It should sew beautifully now. Okay, I just have one key point to point out here when putting the machine back together. I thought I should mention this little tab on the bobbin case base that is part of the hook should match up with the bottom of the needle plate. If you can see on this needle plate, there's a little groove, and so when I put this back on, it is very important that those two match up so that helps it from stopping its rotation. Please pay attention to that. Don't tighten down your screws until you're absolutely sure it's in place. Otherwise you can cause bendage to the needle plate, broken bobbin case base, a lot of really bad damage. Okay, the machine's back together now, as you can see. I'm just going to hold the tails here out of the way and to quickly test sew it. Feels beautiful. Nice, beautiful sewing. This particular model is set up with a needle positioner on it, so I'm able to always stop with the needle down, and if I wish to have the needle in the up position, simply press on the heel. Or the nice part about that is also if I want to stop in the down position, just use my foot lifter and rotate the material. So yeah, it's looking wonderful. Typically as a technician I would test on corners like this, straight corners. This is really a good test of timing because that's where timing will usually fail on something like this because you're right in the middle of a timing zone. And so if I was to see any problems, I'd typically see it there especially, or in reverse as well, especially in a walking foot style machine. So I hope that helps. If you have any other questions, just give us a call. Thanks.